Ooh, look at that. I stripped the threads. Oh, get yourself a parts bin. Check that out. There we go. Hey, welcome back to Fast Monty's Garage. This is part 4 of a multi-part series of how to pull your cam and get a bad lifter out of your engine. Now, most lifters can just lift straight out, as you probably know, but mine sheared off. So if you're new, check out this video right here. This is how I discovered I had a bad lifter, and I tore the top end of the engine apart to get a visual on it, and it's ugly. So part 1 of this series I'll put right here so you can get caught up. So basically we're prepping the engine for removal. Part 2 was taking the transmission out. Part 3 is actually taking the engine out, and we're now at part 4. So hopefully what we'll be getting to today is full removal of the March Serpentine belt system. And if you don't have one, I highly recommend you get one, because it's just one belt, not the old school way of having 4 belts. And those of you that drive 4 belted cars know what happens when you throw the inner belt. All the other belts tend to come off, and now you have no water pump. Anyway, so we're going to tear this apart, hopefully get to the point where we're taking the cam out in the series. I don't want this video to exceed 25 minutes, so if it doesn't get there, it doesn't get there. Other thing to note is, if you want a video update for future videos, please subscribe and then click the little bell. You'll see a little bell in your subscribers list, and based on your notification settings, you can determine which person you subscribe to you want to get an email update from. And for example, my updates are only email notification of a new posting. So the people that I subscribe to, I can determine which ones I want them to tell me when a new video comes out. So I highly recommend doing that. Now, that being said, I'm going to get started, and let's see how far we get. Those of you that were paying attention during the engine removal might have noticed that I had coolant coming out of the front of the motor. That is because there is still coolant inside the block. Now, the way you get that out is to remove a little drain plug. There's one on both sides. Now on this side, this is the passenger side, you might have remembered me talking about the dipstick. Well, the dipstick tube actually goes right in here on a stock dipstick model. On mine, it's plugged because the dipstick now goes right into the oil pan. So depending on what configuration you have, that's how it works. Now, the reason I didn't do it while it's in the car is it can turn into a disaster quickly. And the coolant I'm using in here is called Evans coolant. It's very expensive. It's around $50 a gallon. There are 5 gallons in here. So you can imagine, I'm not really happy when I spill coolant because you can reuse it. Evans coolant has no water in it. So it doesn't vaporize, it doesn't add pressure to your system. It's highly reliable, and you can use it over and over and over again. So what I have, and what I recommend you guys get too, is I have a funnel with a 3/8 inch hose just stuck on the end of it. Well, it's about 2 feet long. I have a container that holds all of my coolant right there. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to crack this plug and catch that super expensive coolant of ours. There's nothing goes planned. I got a bigger tool. The Allen wrench was going to cut it, so there we go. That's much better. And I put gloves on. I cannot stand the way coolant feels or smells. I don't know why. Fuel I can handle. Oil I can handle. Even gear oil, which smells terrible, I can handle. I do not like coolant smell or feel. We're trying to clean it off. So getting close here. Ooh, look at that. It's a lot of coolant. I'm gonna go ahead and put the plug back in. Back to the front of the motor. I just tried to drain the driver's side coolant and I stripped the threads. Actually, I didn't strip the thread. I stripped the Allen head out of the plug. So I'm going to see if we can do this without removing that plug. Otherwise, I'm going to have to drill it out and obviously film that. But we're going to the front of the engine now. And I took a picture, and I recommend doing this, of your bracketry. So I took a picture from this angle, and I'll show it to you. That I have a couple standoffs and a couple washers in there that I had used to level the front of the motor. So what I'm going to do now is take everything off and take these pulleys off because there's bolts behind them. I'm going to take the master drive pulley off and go from there. I'm going to use my handy dandy mini impact wrench too. Oh, get yourself a parts bin. Check that out. Don't tell my wife. If she finds out, I know you guys told her, so don't do it. So these two standoffs just fell out, and they're clearly different height. So I'm going to mark them which one came from where. So the longer one is for the power steering. PS. The other one, and there's a couple of them, it's for the air compressor. So I'll just put ta-da! So I'm keeping them together because I want to keep the brackets and the standoffs all together, and I'll tape them accordingly. I wanted to change camera angle so you can see there are two standoffs here that are bolted on the front studs. There are studs that come from the block all the way through, and those actually just screw on the studs. But while we're here, I'm going to take off the fuel line. You guys know how much I love AN fittings. That's why they don't leak. They're pretty awesome. And now I'm going to tackle the water pump. So it's all these bolts, and what I recommend is take a picture because there are washers I put on several of them and a couple that you don't put the screws in because you have to wait for the March system. And I forgot that the first time I bolted it all together, and then I realized, oh, I need some of these to be empty. So anyway, I'm gonna get to work on those. So this will just pry off, and there is water in it. There's probably about this much water still in there. It's already starting to drip. There we go. All right, so got it off, and what you'll notice is here's the impeller. Water actually goes in here and gets pushed out these outlets into the engine. While we're here, I'm going to go ahead and take the fuel pump off. This is a Carter Racing mechanical fuel pump. Next step is take our balancer off, because we have 4 remaining bolts to take. These big 4 bolts in the timing chain cover, and then there's 4 bolts in the oil pan. So I'm going to take this off while we're here, and then we're going to take the oil pan off. We're at top dead center for number 1 on the balancer, and I got my impact wrench. This thing is torqued to some ungodly amount. I want to say 140 foot-pounds. So this may not work at all, and I'll have to go to plan B. So let's cross our fingers. Hey, it worked! And the engine only turned 1 degree. Getting it off is a whole nother question. I can't remember how to do that. I'm gonna have to think about it for a bit. So I walked away for about 3 minutes, and it dawned on me, I have a tool for that. Man, it must be my old age or something. Yeah, it's my old age. It's like when I go to Home Depot, walk down the tool aisle, and go, oh man, I don't have that tool. And you buy that tool. I get home, and I already have that tool. Story of my life. Anyway, what you need is this bad boy. This is a Harmonic Balancer puller. So you can get them at like Advanced Auto Parts or AutoZone or whoever rents tools. I've clearly rented this so long I own it now. So that's probably why I forgot. Anyway, I'm going to get this set up and get this bad boy pulled off. Alright, I got it all assembled. So this is what it is. It is main drive screw. There's an adapter that goes on the end, so you can actually put this in the bore of the crank. And so as it lines up, then the pulley mounts. It has some studs you can put in. Try and get full thread engagement. And then once that's in, we can start tightening. There we go. It's off. So as I'm watching all this coolant come out the driver's side, I think we're going to have to tackle the strip bolt instead of ignoring it. So I think I'm going to do that next. Hey guys, so based on some feedback that I got, I'm going to try and make these videos a little shorter. I know it's painful to sit through 30 minutes, so hopefully I'll make a better effort as a videographer now to make it 13, 14, 15 minutes, something like that, see how it fits in. So thanks for joining us. I'm anxious about the next one because we have to get that stripped drain plug out of the block, and I do not want to damage anything in the block, as you can imagine. So that'll be a fun one. So thanks for staying tuned in, and if you haven't done so, subscribe so you can get notified of the next release of videos, and we'll go from there. So you know the drill. Build them fast, but drive them faster.